Hello and welcome to the Rubber Duck Dev Show. I'm Chris.
And I'm Creston.
And I'm Drew.
Yeah, we're excited to be talking with Drew today about our dev setups. We're going to talk hardware, software, all the fun stuff that we do, the things that we like, the equipment we like to use, and, things that are outside the IDE that we enjoy. Because we've had a good discussion on, the different IDEs. We've actually had a couple of shows centered around IDEs. But there's a lot of stuff that devs use that aren't IDEs. So I think it's interesting to talk about that. But before we do that, week in review. Creston, how was your week?
Again, it's all on continuing the super busy, doing a variety of consulting work for Postgres databases, as well as some Rails consulting, working on my product. I'm actually in the process of also developing a course or two related to Postgres. So in the coming months, I'll be sharing more information about that. So that's something that's in process right now. Apart from that, what about you? How was your week?
It's been busy, but not bad. I've actually got vacation coming up. An extended weekend. I'm off Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. So I was like, yeah, I just need a brain reboot there for a few days. But so I'm kind of having to push a little extra this week to get ahead of things, but it hasn't been too bad. I've gotten a lot of things. It's been a lot of, again, admin type stuff rather than hands-on keyboard programming, but I've gotten a lot of things squared away and organized and ready to go so that people can take care of crap while I'm out of the office, and it doesn't have to be me getting pinged for 4 days, which is really nice. I'm looking forward to that. So pretty good week all in all. Drew, how was your week?
Oh, it's been an adventure. I foolishly upgraded to Sonoma, even though it came out yesterday, because other devs on the team didn't have a problem with their upgrade. Of course, mine just messed everything up. Spent about 2 hours getting Git working again, sort of. And don't ask me how my IDE is because it ain't there. So that's been fun, but it's been a good week. I'm on a project at work, and since the last time I was here, I've changed jobs. I'm no longer at Within 3. I actually joined the team at Podia, and it's an awesome team, and I'm just trying to keep pace with everybody, and it's been a good week, other than messing my entire development environment up.
Well, there is that. But
yeah.
The good news is we don't. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying we should also talk about, do we have backup environments, as we're talking about hardware and software?
Yeah, true.
For eventualities.
Git is the backup.
Well, I mean, other systems you could pull out of a closet to be able to, I'm just saying.
Like, hey, my MacBook caught on fire. Now what do I do?
Punch cards. Right? That's how before computers.
That's the way it goes, man. You can still read those, right?
Oh, speaking of reading, I just learned this, and maybe everybody knew this but me, but it wasn't until the mid 80s that there was syntax and highlighting and semantic highlighting. So code used to just be text, just regular, I opened it in Notepad text.
Yep.
And I'm my brain just melted trying to think about that. Syntax highlighting makes such an improvement in my life. It's amazing to think about that. Luckily, that's way before my time, but I learned that this week and was kind of blown away by the thought of it.
Unluckily, it's not way before mine. I used to go into the little bookstore, like Walden Books and stuff, in the mall. Malls kids are inside stores, all put together. In case you don't know, we used to have those. But you go into the bookstore in the mall. Bookstores where you buy these things that you can read, and
isn't that Amazon?
Yeah, well, I mean, no, but you'd get these books that were learn to program, and it was like the big 9x11 size paperback books, and they just have page after page, like 100 pages of pre-written code in BASIC, right? And you take those home to your Apple II and sit there and code and spend 2 days going copying all this code from this book, and you couldn't read a damn thing on the screen because, like you said, there was no syntax highlighting in those days. It was basically coding it in a DOS window. And after 2 days of coding, you'd have this square ball that would bounce from one side of the screen to the other and back. And that was hot shit.
If it worked.
Yeah. Assuming you didn't typo something. And if you did, next page, we'll just forget about that one. I'm not going back there. But anyway, things have come a long way, and I think devs are a little bit happier nowadays than they used to be. Not only because of the IDEs and the programming environments, the development environments we get to use, but I think the things outside the development environments are just physical environments have improved for development. So let's talk about that. Like, one of the things that I think is overlooked a lot, and I actually saw a decent discussion about this maybe 5 or 6 months ago on Twitter. There's a big thread on chairs. What chair do you use? And I think a lot of people don't think about that. And I can tell you, as I'm getting older, I'm starting to wish I thought more about that when I was younger, because, back problems and knee problems and all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of interested. Drew, what kind of chairs do you use for your daily sit downs?
I have some, I think it's called autonomous chair. It's not bad. It was pretty cheap, which was at the time the big drawer, but I'm with you on, I sit a lot. Even with the standing desk, I sit a lot, and I definitely need to upgrade that. The first programming job I had, I was in an office and I got spoiled. They had those, what are the Herman Millers?
Oh yeah.
The really, like, I think it was like a $1,200 chair or something insane like that. And I was like, this is amazing. I want one. $1,200, never mind. But I'm
and
with
those
you.
were
I'm
like
starting
those
to get to that
mesh type chairs.
Yeah. They've just, like, you didn't feel like you were sitting. And I already have some back problems. I hurt my back in the Army, and doesn't feel good to sit for long periods of time, especially as I'm getting older. So I'm like, $1,200 doesn't seem like that much anymore. And I'm with you. I kind of wish I had been a little bit more willing to drop the money on the chair as much as I was willing to drop money on the computer.
Yeah. So Creston, what do you use? Just a steel folding chair, right?
It has cushions. You can adjust the height. It has a back. I purchased
that's all you
it
need.
in 1995 for less than $50.
There you go. Hey, if it works.
However,
oh my God,
I only sit in it while recording.
Okay.
100% other time, I stand up all the time because I injured my back as well doing stupid things while moving when I was in my 20s. So because of that, I stand all the time. The only time I sit is when I'm recording. So it's basically 4 hours a week I sit. All the rest of the time I'm standing.
Okay.
So
wow.
What about you, Chris?
I've had like, not a Herman Miller, but I've sat in Herman Millers, and they're nice. And I've had other models of those kind of mesh type chairs, the ergonomic mesh chairs. Those never really gelled with me. What I ended up getting that I just fell in love with were these Secret Lab Titan XL chairs. This thing is so comfortable. First of all, it's leather, and they're kind of expensive, but like $475 expensive, not $1,200 expensive. But they're leather. They're nice and soft. They got the lumbar supports. They're also extra wide, so you've got a lot of room in this chair, so you don't feel closed in. so you can really spread out, and it's, you can lean back. It's got recline. It's got, you can actually get some with footrests on them. So when you recline, it's like being in a recliner at your seat.
Nice.
But fully 4D adjustable arms and stuff, and they're just, I love this chair. It is so good. And $450 sounds like a lot, but compared to the other ergonomic chairs, it's not really. So,
And I would argue that $450 isn't that much to be comfortable. Like,
no.
most of us spend, other than Creston, obviously, most of us spend a lot of time in a chair, and it pays dividends in the long run to take care of your whole skeletal system, but especially your back. Like,
Yeah.
once it starts hurting, it doesn't stop. You just kind of get used to it. So,
yeah. And before this chair, because I also have back problems because I have a congenital defect in one of the discs in my lower spine. It doesn't have any fluid, so it's like two vertebrae just always rubbing together. Yeah, it's fun. So
no,
before this chair, I couldn't sit for more than 5 or 10 minutes without being in a lot of pain. So this chair allows me to sit down for 45 minutes to an hour before I feel like I need to stand up. So it's a huge difference. And I did not get that kind of relief with the mesh back chairs. So, I mean, to each their own. But this chair was a lifesaver for me.
That's the hard part about chairs, is they're pretty expensive. I mean, anything decent is not $50 in 1995. It's a couple $100 all the way up to over $1,000, and there's not a lot of places to try them. And it's a lot of personal preference. It's a lot of like, hey, this doesn't work for me because I'm wide, or I'm very skinny and so more bony, or the mesh is great, or the mesh is horrible, or there needs to be a better way to try these chairs out, because they're a little too expensive to just be like, that one looks cool, bye.
But
or a liberal return policy.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's, well, I mean, even if you have a good return policy, it ain't a piece of cake to put these chairs together when they ship them to you. So, if you're gonna spend 3 hours putting a chair together, you want to be kind of sure it's gonna work when you're done. Because then, if it doesn't, you have to take it all back apart, repack it, and good luck with that.
The box.
Yeah, and I have purchased other chairs, but I actually go to an office store because I actually want to sit in them to gauge, right?
Yeah.
But I would say for you younger folks,
their choice is just so limited there.
True.
Right. That are just starting a program. If you're going to put money into anything and invest time into researching it, start with your chair. I promise you, putting $450 or $1,200 into a chair sounds like a lot, but 20 years from now, you'll be thanking yourself that you did that. So,
yeah, with the amount of time we all sit, it's so worth it.
I will also add to this, if I have essentially repetitive stress injury from excessive keyboard mouse use, probably a little related to the video games I played, particularly really early on. But a thing that contributed to it was actually the arm rests on chairs. So now whenever I get a chair, I take those suckers off. I throw them off. It may not impact everyone, but what I've found I've had to do is to remove them, because then I force myself to have to move my arms more if I'm typing or mousing or whatnot, as opposed to just only doing small micro movements. So I found it's beneficial for me, or helpful, to not have that and take those arms off.
Yeah.
But just throw that out there.
So now let's move on from chairs to desks. So what about desks? I know standing desks are like the big thing now, and which I agree with, but they're pretty expensive. Most full motorized standing desks are in the $500-$600 area. Last time I looked. So they may be a little more now because this was probably a year ago I was looking at them, but I can't imagine they're, 600, 650, something like that. So they're expensive, but what do you think about standing desks, Drew?
I have one. I am standing as we record right now, and that's actually I'm a little bit of the reverse of Creston. I will stand almost exclusively when I'm recording or like in a meeting or something where I'm not active with the keyboard or too active with my brain. Otherwise, I'm sitting down. I wish I stood more, honestly, because I feel better standing more. But standing desks are a little bit like sort of every other tool. Like they only work if you use them. So
Yeah.
standing desks, you don't necessarily need to drop a ton of money on those right off the bat. See if you're actually going to use it. You can get like a hand crank one from IKEA for like $200. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it'll get you comfortable with like, am I actually going to stand? Can I develop the habit to stand more during my workday than just sit at it?
Yeah, and Creston, I know you've got a standing desk too. What is yours, a full standing desk?
I mean, it's a full standing desk. Yeah, it's the smallest one, given the size of the room that I am in terms of width. It's the smallest width. But yeah, I paid, around the $600 mark. I don't know, maybe like 5 years ago or so, and it's the Uplift desk brand. So
So
and let me just
yeah,
add
yeah.
real quickly to endorse what Drew was saying, is that definitely, you may think, hey, I'm going to use this, it'll be great. And then you find out you don't use it a lot. So definitely buy a cheaper one. So like my son, who is still under 20, I I went for his next desk. I went ahead and got him one of these hand crank ones. Of course, now he's giving me, yeah, my dad gave me this real crap desk that has the hand crank on it. I'm like, but I'm like, but he like never uses it. So it's like, to your point, it's like you got to try them out and see if they use it. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
would endorse standing up more will help you in the long term if you're going to be doing a lot of sitting with your programming job.
Yeah.
So balancing it early will prevent damage, injury, over time.
Not to mention the fact that transitioning the up and down will help your leg muscles. It gets your blood flowing better. It helps your brain work better because you've got better blood flow and oxygen flow just because you're moving more rather than just being sedentary. So
what about your setup?
By nature, I'm a pretty cheap bastard, so I wasn't going to drop $600 on a full table. So the solution I found, which is a good alternative for, hey, try it before you spend $600 on it. And I'm not against the $600 nice motorized big tables, but what I found were these desktop converters. So this is what I have. I actually bought this one here is the one I'm using currently because I wanted a lot of desk space. But it's a manual lift. You pull out these two little things on the side and you just lift it up with muscle power. But you can get converters that are motorized. They're a little more expensive than this, but even the motorized ones I think are like $250. Like this one's motorized, $240. But the one I got is $140. I've had it since January. It's worked like a champ. I had another one, a little bit smaller one like this before that. It wasn't this one. It was less. But, for $150, you can try this out. And I don't have a need personally for a motorized one. Now, as I get older and I start, getting a little less strong, I may change my mind on that, but right now I'm healthy enough to pull it up myself. But even the motorized ones you can get. I was reading reviews on this one here that's $240, the Flexus Spot. It's motorized and it, $240. That's not bad for assistance with that. So another thing I would highly suggest investing in, besides a really good chair, is some way to do a standing desk situation.
Agreed. I actually started in a very similar way. I think they're called Veridesks, the
Mhm.
manual lift. That's how I started. I got one used. I forget even where I got it, but I got it used for like $50 and was like, well, if I use it enough, I'll upgrade. And I was using it quite a bit, so I upgraded and now I somehow use it less, that I have a whole desk that lifts rather than just a thing. But yeah, I recommend, if money's part of the problem, you can get a used one of those lifts
Yeah.
pretty easily, and that'll make a big difference, I think, to me.
Yeah.
May-
I mean, every developer I've talked to, even younger ones, have said they are much happier with a standing desk than they were before they had one.
Yeah.
And they're, I can't recommend those enough, really. So that's kind of taking
I'll
care of.
let me just
Yep.
throw in one more thing here. So I know I did a lot of research. I even looked at some of the different models, and I got, again, this like 5 years ago. So some of these ones that you can put on an existing desk now, like you were showing Chris, I think they've evolved over time,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe there's some better options now. But I know one thing I struggled with looking at all the different options available was having the keyboard at the right height. So that,
Mm-hmm.
again, me being someone with some repetitive stress injury that has happened through this, I want my keyboard and my mouse at the exact perfect height. Basically, allow your arms to be, parallel with the bottom of the floor. And I had I did a lot of research and looking around and saying, okay, if I get this desk, do I need to add a keyboard tray below it? And, you know, so just keep those things in mind as you're looking for a solution, is that you still want it to be ergonomic, because like so many
Yeah.
desks, the keyboard's too high and it's not appropriate, and you're going to potentially injure yourself if you do a lot of keyboarding at it. But I also think some of this is also probably genetic based. I think there's some people that can be keyboard warriors no matter what their position, and they'll be fine forever.
Yeah.
But if just take that into account as you're choosing your keyboard and your desk and whatnot.
I will tell you, I haven't met many of those. At least not many of those over the age of 30. Because if you're a programmer over the age of 30, you probably got some pain somewhere. But so that kind of takes care of the lower body part of this. Also, I'd recommend foot rests. I've got a nice foot rest, so I can lift my chair up and make sure my knees are my thighs are parallel to the floor and my foot's on nice cushiony stuff. I've just got a floor foot rest. It's made as a footrest, but it's cushioned. It's got memory foam in it. And those aren't that expensive. I think I spent like $30 on this one, and you can height adjust it. It's got like things you can Velcro off to adjust the height up and down, but it's, they're not that expensive. And that's something else I'd recommend, because your feet get really tired standing on, especially if you're in an office that's got thin carpet on concrete. That's
Yep.
something you want to take care of too. So let's talk a little bit about monitor setup, because I think a lot of people don't think about that, but I think it's an important thing to consider, because like my eyes suck, and I've lately I just went to the eye doctor because I have to upgrade my prescriptions, but I get headaches a lot because of eye strain, right? And one of the things that I'm getting ready to do, because my setup is I've got the monitors side by side at just a little bit higher than eye level, so I'm not looking down. And they're big monitors. I think they're 27-inch or 28-inch monitors. And then I've got one to the side, a little bit smaller one sitting on a desk to the side, that's kind of that I use a lot for production stuff, like the Zoom is over here right now, and the pretzel music and things I don't have to look at very much. But one of the things that I've noticed, and I was talking with my eye doctor about this, is that the horizontal movement of your eyes is actually a little more stressful than vertical movements of your eyes. So she was suggesting that rather than having side-by-side monitors, if you can, have top and bottom monitors. That it may reduce the amount of, because you don't have to turn your head as much, so that's less neck strain. And she was saying it, looking up and down is less stressful than looking side to side for your eyes. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I'm going to experiment and find out, but I figure she's an eye doctor. She should know better than me. But
yeah.
So anyway, what kind of monitor setup do you have?
I just changed mine up, and I'm getting used to it. And now you're saying these things, and I'm rethinking everything. So thank you for that. I was doing the side-by-side 27-inch, and I liked it. I don't know why I felt the need to change it up. It was probably just like I wanted to.
Two 27-inch monitors?
Yeah.
Okay.
Two right side by side. And now I have a single 34-inch curved, like smack dab in the center. That's where the browser and the IDE goes. And then I have one of those 27 inches on off to the left that's vertical, which is actually pretty cool. But I don't actually put anything but like Slack and the terminal over there, because those are like things that I glance at, but I don't need them in my face all the time. And I bring them over to the main screen if I'm like actively involved in a Slack conversation, or I'm doing something like in the terminal. I'm not using the VS Code one. And it's been working so far. That's what I'm using right now.
Cool. What about you, Creston?
99% of the time I'm using a 27-inch monitor, 1440p monitor. That's it. I have one off to the side that I use 1% of the time if I am doing live streaming, or if I need like to look at OBS with regard to something, open broadcasting software, if I'm doing some sort of recording. But the rest of the time, I'm just an alt tab man. I just like alt tab, alt tab, alt tab, alt tab. So that's how I roll. I don't like have multiple monitors or anything like that on a regular basis.
I mean, that's the thing about all the dev environment setup stuff, is it's so personal. Right? Like, you're a bit of a minimalist, and if it works for you, then rock on. No one should ever make you feel bad for like, you only use one monitor. What is wrong with you? You're obviously not a real dev. Like, that should never be a thing.
Get
although
three,
I have
you
heard
noob.
it. Like, I've heard people like get on other people for not having like a mechanical keyboard, or not having like certain bits in their office, and I'm like, if it doesn't work for you, who cares? Or if like the basic thing works, and good on you, you probably saved a couple $100 that the rest of us spent on stuff we might not have needed.
Right. Yeah, like I don't have a mechanical keyboard because they annoy the hell out of me. But I understand a lot of people like them.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's like there is no space on my desk because, again, I told you I got the kind of shortest width uplift desk, one model that I got. And given I have speakers on here and lights and different things, the only place I can put a monitor, another one, is potentially above my current one. And if I imagine, all right, well, what the heck am I going to put there? What do I want to look up and look at? I'm just like, so I just use alt tab. I don't know.
The problem is we saw too many of those hacker movies in the 90s where they had like 30 monitors, or The Matrix, where it's just like monitor here, real-time information all the time. It's like, that's not how nope. That's not how I want to do my job.
I can't take that much of it. The only reason that I use two monitors while I'm gaming is different, but while I'm deving, I have my dev environment on one monitor, and I just have Chrome up on the other one so that I can do quick research blips if I need to look something up. Which I could do on one monitor. It's just faster for me to have that up, because also I can be programming and looking at some code and going, oh, okay, that's what they mean, while I'm still in the midst of programming. But
that's what works for you, and that's the most important part. Is everybody, I mean, this is a good type of podcast because we have three people giving their opinions, and then people can base their research off of what they're hearing and what they think they like. And that's the most important thing, is like researching, and you're probably going to do a couple of Amazon returns before you find exactly what you like.
Yeah.
Don't settle for the first thing you buy.
Exactly. Or, well, I mean, unless you get lucky, or do,
Well, yeah.
many, many months of research and be very sure of what you're buying. But,
yeah.
Or
you're a stubborn bastard, but I don't recommend that.
I suffered from that for way too long. But, so what other kinds of, I mean, that's kind of the main hardware things that you're dealing with as a dev. What other kinds of non-software things do you think are essential for you as a dev?
I have a new one. It was born because I started rock climbing again. I rock climbed when I was younger, stopped for a really long time, just started again, and I got these like grip strength trainers, and they're basically just glorified stress balls with like an extra bit to like stretch your fingers. But holy crap, have I forgotten how nice it is to think and just do this.
Yep.
Like, I have fidget toys and they all are great. They're great for like meetings or whatever. But just when I'm thinking to do this, like it's like a superpower.
Yeah.
It's so nice. I had completely forgotten about it. And it's so funny that like we're talking about like monitors and desks and chairs. And I'm like, yeah, like a $5 stress ball makes a huge difference in my ability to think when I'm just like focused on a bug or a problem and I'm just like staring at code. Like, I don't know what it is, blood flow, distraction, what? But next to a walk, this thing's awesome.
I am a big pacer.
Yeah, that's the standing desk sizes.
Yeah, exactly. So I step away. And I just start pacing back and forth. It's like when I choose my office or my home office, I'm like, okay, do I have lanes that I can travel and do my pacing?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, one of the things that I've got that I put in my home office that I never really cared about for a long time, but the past couple of years I've kind of gotten really attached to it, is I've got a essential oils infuser next to my desk that I put lavender oil, and that it helps me center my brain so well. Just having that nice smell in the office and hearing that it's got a tiny little hum and it's sitting right behind my monitor. So it's just got that kind of white noise background thing going on, which also helps.
Yeah. I actually have a good one. Goes back to what you were talking about with eye strain. I got blue light blocking glasses, which are awesome when you're doing long sessions in front of a screen.
Yeah.
I just pop these on when it starts getting later in the night, and I've noticed it helps with my sleep. It helps with the eye strain. It helps with my overall mood. So like that, and
water.
Like, it's amazing how like the simple things. I think Creston might have like dialed in on this. He's minimalist.
Yeah.
He's got it all figured out. But like, yeah, water and like taking care of your eyes and just like that kind of stuff makes such a big difference to your ability to do your job. And that's what like everything should do, right? Everything should make it easier to do your job.
Right.
And some of us need distractions like toys and some of us don't. But yeah, blue light blockers, highly recommend if you don't have.
Yeah, I get blue light
what
tint
is
on my
the
glasses.
benefit? What is the benefit? So I understand the benefit from like if you're coding late and allowing you to not disturb your sleep by getting too much blue light in before going to bed. So I understand that benefit. But what are the other benefits of blocking the blue light just in a regular workday from the screen?
I don't know. I got them predominantly for when I code later, because I've been doing a lot of later shifts. But from my understanding, blue light's the part that's like kind of tough to absorb nonstop constantly. So blocking some of the blue light just makes it less stress for your eyes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was
told. For me,
like,
it's going into night, because I work a bit of a weird shift. I start later in the day, so I code later at night. And if I notice if I don't put those on probably 5 o'clock ish, there's a noticeable difference in my bedtime and how easy it is to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I've had a couple of doctors tell me that, during the day, the reason I got it on mine, like I said, I have a lot of problems with stress headaches from my eye stress and stuff. and that really helps because I'm at a computer pretty much all day, and then I'm done with work, so I game all night. So I'm always looking at a computer screen pretty much. So that really helps reduce the eye strain and stuff. And it seemed, I mean, 2 different eye doctors told me that, and my personal experience seems to prove that out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's funny because even if it is a placebo effect thing, even if it isn't actually doing anything for you, if putting them on or knowing that they're there makes you physically feel better, whether you're actually doing anything for your eye stress or not, that's an effect. Like, that's a feature, not a bug. Like, the
Right.
placebo effect is a real strong thing, like the power of thought. So that's another thing to keep in mind as you're researching stuff, is like, if it works, great. You don't necessarily have to be like, that's fake, it doesn't actually work. It's like, well, it works for me, so go away and leave me alone and let me enjoy my blue light blocking or my special this or my fancy that.
Yeah, and the good news is blue light, like adding blue light coating to my glasses prescription is super cheap. I mean, it's like an extra 10 or $15 or something. So, if you got to spend $15 once a year, even if it is just a placebo effect, like you said, to me that's worth $15.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right, what other? So let's talk about. So that's kind of the hardware stuff. Let's take care of our bodies. People, and I think devs have a hard time thinking about that because we're such a thinky profession. We're always dealing with brain things. We kind of forget sometimes that, hey, we got to take care of the brain container,
Yeah.
I did want to ask some other hardware related question, or bring something up related to that. So, vast majority of developers that I've associated with or know or whatever use laptops, or they take their laptops, they plug it into their monitors and whatnot. I'm different in that I'm a desktop guy. I only like using desktops. My laptop is my backup computer. If heaven forbid I try to install Sonoma, or whatever.
I mean,
fair.
So basically I use my own machine, and I built it, and I'm running, Linux on it. So I don't have the typical MacBook Air, or, whatever it is. But what are you guys using or rocking?
I have a MacBook Pro. That's what I've always had given to me by jobs that I've had, and that's where Podia requires us to have one. Though they don't care if it's a MacBook Pro or if it's the desktop, the Mac Mini or whatever. It's just got to meet certain specifications. So yeah, laptop, just because I don't want to have 2 machines. I would rather just, hey, I need to leave the house, I'm taking my laptop with me. I've noticed, like, when I had 2 machines, one for work, one for personal, just like syncing settings and stuff was a pain in the ass. So it's so nice to be like, one machine. And I know that goes against what a lot of people recommend, but it is nice to just operate on one machine for me.
Yeah, which, I mean, I've got sitting right next to me, my 4th monitor is my MacBook Pro that is work provided. That is my work machine, which I remote into for my desktop because I hate working on a laptop. So the only reason it's there is to stay connected to power so that I can remote into it. Right. So, and you said it, I mean, I got a full keyboard here. I've got nice big monitors. Why the hell would I want to be on that thing?
Right.
And you said, it's nice to have a laptop to leave the house. Well, I never leave the house, so what the hell do I need a laptop for? Outside sucks. I'd rather be in here.
Oh, resolution's pretty good.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's a thing.
You know,
Not to mention the
we
fact-
are right next. We're right next door to the sun, so it makes it a
right,
little
yeah.
harder than other places. In the
Going
country.
outside is not not a thing
It's
we
fair.
like to do very often. We get about 2 weeks a year where it's, you can go outside and not die from heat stroke in 5 minutes. So,
Go to Phoenix. Go to Phoenix, Arizona in
Yeah,
July.
I've heard that. Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I went out to visit a friend of mine, and he lives in Phoenix, and I went in July because I'm just the smartest man alive. And it was 115 degrees when I got off the plane. I was just like, what the?
yeah, and then after July in Phoenix, come to Central Florida in August and get 95 degrees, feels like 130 because there's 115% humidity.
Yeah, no, see, at least out there, sweat works.
Yeah,
Like, sweat
right.
actually does something. Shade is a real thing, provides benefit to you. Florida is just, no thank you.
Yeah, here if you sweat, you're just adding inches to the swamp. So it's, it doesn't work
It's like
here.
walking through soup.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty
No,
much.
I remember I used to always go to take my daughter to Disney and Universal the week before school started, so August, and it was just
Gross.
like, yep, I have sweat in places I don't want to have sweat right now.
I'm so sweaty, it's sweating on somebody else. Ugh.
Let me take a step back for a second.
Where did this episode go?
Yeah, where are we going? So, how do you remote into your laptop, or what tool are you using to do that?
TeamViewer.
TeamViewer. Okay.
Yeah, because it's cross-platform, and I used to use a different one, but they got it. It went bad. I can't even remember what it's called now, but because TeamViewer had for a while a bad reputation because all the scammers used it, right? But TeamViewer has gotten very proactive about shutting scammers down. They actually work with like Kit Boga and a lot of those other scam fighter folks that you see on YouTube. They'll work with them and actually help them, talk to them, especially if they're live, and shut down scammers' accounts and just completely block them out. Whole IP addresses and stuff like that. So, and they've done a lot to improve their security and stuff. And my research and my experience shows now that they're one of the more secure remote options out there. So that's what I use.
Okay.
So now we're kind of pulling into the software arena. What kind of software outside the IDE do you guys use to help with your development?
I just started using the Arc browser not too long ago. It's been like maybe 2 months that I've been using it, and I've been enjoying it. Like, it's nothing drastically different than any other browser. Like, it's still a browser for the internet. There's just a couple of little tools, features, niceties built in that I enjoy. There's it makes it really easy to switch between profiles. It makes it really easy to split your views. And it's a browser, so it's free to download and give it a try. And I've been recommending it to people to, if they're unhappy with whatever they're using, to at least give it a whirl. Like, worst case scenario, you just don't like it. You go back to whatever you're using, but I've been enjoying it quite a bit.
So what's the upside of Arc? Let's say over Chrome.
Well, I mean, under the hood, it's Chromium, so it's still going to use half your RAM, or more. But like I was saying, it has some really nice ways to set up what they call spaces, which are sort of profiles, and make it really nice to switch between them. And you have tab groups in them. The way that they do bookmarking and everything, it's a little more, your tabs are always there, but they're not necessarily always open. And so you can kind of see them and you click into them. It's really easy to break it out into a split view side by side or up and down. You can really easily, and I know we can do this because we're devs, but not everybody can. You can really easily remove elements from a web page. They have these, what are they called? They're called boosts. You can just change the background color. edit the CSS essentially, but they make it really easy to do that. You can have themes for the whole browser when you're on a certain page. You can remove, like if you're over on Twitter and you're like, I hate this one section over here that tells me the trending crap going on in the world. You can just like click a button to delete that, and every time you're on Twitter, that side panel just goes away.
Okay, I'm downloading Arc Browser right now for that.
Yeah, all right.
Just for that.
Just run through the list of features until you find something that everybody can get in on. So yeah,
that's very interesting.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, like I said, it's just a browser. It's not like, oh my god, the internet has changed forever. It's just a way to consume the internet. But I've been enjoying it quite a bit. There was a small learning curve because like it's a sidebar instead of everything on the top, and like things are a little more hidden because you're supposed to use a lot more keyboard shortcuts. But once you get used to it, I have been very pleased with my decision. So
okay, I've bookmarked that download page. I'll be coming back to that after the show.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. Worth the price of admission. But browsers in general, I mean, I think all of us, because let's be honest, folks, developers aren't the best programmers. We're just really damn good at Google. So
yeah, that's fair.
You gotta have a browser.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, obviously, I don't think I've ever run into a dev or could conceive of a dev who doesn't have a browser open almost all the time. I think that's general population at this point in time. But even before that was a thing, I think devs were pretty active on the internet, you know, bulletin boards and news groups and stuff, trying to figure this crap out because it's complicated.
Yep.
So,
agreed.
What other kinds of software stuff do you guys use?
Crescent, I've been doing a lot of talking. Save my voice.
So I mean, I was struggling to come up with this because it's really just standard productivity tools. I mean, I do use 3 different browsers on a regular basis just because I like to do certain things in different ones. So like Google Chrome is where I'm always logged in there as me, Creston. So I get Gmail, I get my calendar, and I'm fine with whatever's tracking there. That's, you know, wherever most of my work is done. But I don't like Google tracking by that particular account what I'm searching for on a regular basis. So I usually tend to do that in a different browser with a different search engine potentially. And then based upon how you log into different like AWS consoles or whatnot, because I do a lot of consulting with different companies, sometimes I keep different browsers or different profiles open for different customers, because otherwise it'll get confusing, fast. So that's a little bit of different stuff that I do. And of course, the typical productivity tools like having, a word processor, an Excel, one of those, as well as Slack for communication for, certain clients. But other than that, again, I'm mostly a minimalist. So, that's pretty much it. I'm like I had mentioned previously in our IDE episodes, I'm still rocking the Sublime Text, I'm
yes, old school and minimalist. Nice. I also do have other browsers that I'll open up, mostly for when I'm doing front end work, like JavaScript or CSS bugs that are like exclusive to usually Safari. But yeah, like usually it'll just be like, hey, on some browsers it's goofy. And I've kind of gotten used to, if I'm doing anything other than like standard stuff for a front end feature, I'll test it myself in multiple browsers before I push it up, just because that's like been the number one thing with front end work that's bitten me, is like I do all my testing in a Chromium based browser and then someone opens it in Safari or back in the day IE and it's like everything's broken. It's great. Never mind. Let me open it on that real quick.
That is something that's bitten me, in that particularly the fonts are different. Like I'm using Ubuntu and it looks a certain way on Chrome, on Ubuntu, and then I go to a Windows and the fonts are different enough that it's just changed the layout of certain things. I'm like, oh man, come on.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked hardware and software, and I've got a last little bit that I want to kind of touch on here before we end the show, and that is your overall programming environment. So this is going to be highly personal, but there's people that, I like to go to the coffee shop where there's a lot of background noise and stuff going on. I need to have it completely quiet. I got to have a place where I can put headphones on and pump some music in. So Drew, what's your preferred environment for dev?
Oh man, it depends. Sorry, I had to get at least one "it depends" in there. But it really does. It depends on the work I'm doing. Like if I'm really trying to focus, it helps to have a mostly quiet environment for me. The noise canceling headphones for like the environment stuff that I can't control. Like if folks come to like mow the lawn, I'm not getting any work done when they're mowing the lawn unless I have my headphones in. But I do have like some focus music, whether or not it's a good thing or not. It's placebo effect. It helps me just stay a little more engaged. Really low in the background. That's how I like to focus on things. Do a lot of pairing at Podia, so that doesn't always work.
Yeah.
So then it's a lot more of like, I want to be comfortable. I want to be able to communicate with my partner. I want my partner to have a good experience. So we use Tuple a lot because it is hands down the best pairing tool you will ever find. But yeah, the headphones are great if I'm doing deep solo work, but other than that, I don't put music on a lot.
What about you, Creston?
So external noises don't bother me a lot unless it gets really, really loud. So that doesn't usually bother me. But to get into the zone when I know I'm just going to be programming and kind of like a heads down thing, I just put on music without lyrics. So this could be movie soundtracks, this could be classical music, or or something bombastic is better, like World of Warcraft soundtrack, or some of the MCU soundtracks. Like I have particular playlists that have it, but basically no words, more bombastic better, and then just go to town. That's kind of what it is. And so I know there's other people that, a lot of exterior noises bother them. It has to get up to a pretty high volume to actually disturb me, but that's me.
Yeah. That sounds nice. I can't like it. It's not even a volume thing. It's just like any noise that I'm sort of not in control
Yeah.
of. It is just noise sensitivity puts me into sensory overload, and then I'm just like, I can't focus. I can't think about anything but that. It's very frustrating. So I'm very jealous that you can just.
Well, my daughter, I think, has a little bit of that, where, you know, even just like if she's getting ready to go to bed at night, there must be complete silence.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I've got a daughter.
And I'm like, our bedrooms, she's on the other side of the wall as me. So I am closed captioning the film, but I had the volume up a little bit. But inevitably, there's always the knock on the wall, like, knock, knock, knock. I'm trying to go to bed here. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I got my youngest daughter is very sound sensitive too. She's got really good head canceling noise canceling headphones. Head canceling noise. Well, that's a different show, I think. But
Guillotine?
Jeez, maybe I need another cup of coffee here. But
Yes.
So she'll put in the earbuds with some music and the noise canceling headphones when she's trying to concentrate, because she can't take I mean, she's very noise sensitive. I've got basically two modes of dev. Either I have these headphones on, they're not noise canceling, but they're enough to kind of mute the sounds around me, because 3 kids and a wife running around the house doing things, and the lawnmower outside and all that kind of stuff. This is enough usually. If I really want to concentrate, I'll put Mozart on. But what I've caught myself doing, because I'm so used to having these headphones on, I'll actually get up to leave and forget to take them off, and I'm like, because I just like, it's part of my head now, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I can take a little bit of noise, but I generally try to mute it for the most part. At least keep it low. But then also, you know, we do recording in here, and we were doing the live streams and stuff, so the people in my house know to not, you know, run around screaming and yelling and stuff, because
Yeah.
you know. But anyway, yeah, that was interesting. I mean, I there's obviously lots of personal stuff to how you set up your environment and what tools you use and things. Hopefully people who haven't had a chance to experiment much with these things yet, like chairs and headphones and glasses and things, get something from this episode that they can use to kind of help make them more comfortable and more effective programmers, and happier in their environments. But Drew,
what I thought was interesting is how different each of us
Yeah.
is with our environment. So
Yeah.
I found that very interesting.
yeah,
And it just goes to show you everybody's different for
Right.
what
Yeah.
works for them.
Yeah, I hope there's a lot of feedback when this episode comes out of people saying, "Oh, this is what I use," or "This I found a lot of benefit from keeping this on my desk or using this type of whatever." Because I'm always interested in finding out what other people are using and at least giving it a whirl myself. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but hopefully we get a lot of feedback from this episode so that we can have more things to research.
So go ahead and post that in the comments, please, everyone.
Yeah, if you've got some cool thing, you know, cool hardware that you like to use, or cool software that you use that helps you be a better dev, or you just want to describe what your environment is, you know, we're really interested to hear that stuff. So please put it in the comments below. Drew, thank you very much for joining us today. That was a fun conversation, and it was great to see you again.
Yeah,
Haven't gotten to see you for a while, so it's good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So hope you guys enjoyed that. I certainly did. And we will be back next week with, we don't know what the topic is yet. So maybe I'll just, you know, make the thumbnail with the title, "We don't know what the topic is," and go with that. But if you did enjoy that, please make sure and like and subscribe, and go ahead and ding that notification bell so that you know when our videos drop. Or if you're a podcast person, you can listen to the podcasts at your favorite podcast provider. We covered them just about all, I think. So, you know, listen where you're comfortable. You can also check us out on Twitter at @DuckyDevShow. I talk to people on there. That's how I communicate with Drew. So, you know, it works. I promise. We're there. You can also email us. rubberduckdevshow@gmail.com. Or you can come hang out on our Discord. We'll have links in the descriptions for all that fun stuff. But we will see you guys next Thursday. And until then, happy programming.
Happy programming.
Happy programming.